Welcome back. You have now completed the teaching lessons of Section 4 of Hope, exploring both the effects of adverse childhood experiences and events and a biblical view of healing and transformation. I hope you found these lessons beneficial for beginning to understand the negative emotions and life symptoms you have been experiencing, as well as the compassion God has for you in understanding who you are, how you have suffered, and where you came from. Truly, God is for us and not against us, and already has plans to heal, restore, and sanctify you, including through this program as you open your heart to Him. To help you reflect on and apply the teaching material in this section, spend some time responding to the questions and completing the activities in your Reflections and Healing Activities Guide for Section 4, linked below this lesson. As a reminder, please do not rush and set aside time to reflect deeply and ask God to meet you and reveal to you what you need to understand to heal. When you are finished, please post a copy of your responses in the Facebook private community for me to share any thoughts. So let's briefly review the questions and activities for this first section. First, let's review several questions for reflection. 1. As you consider the information in this section, what concerns you the most about the idea of deciding to look at the damage in your life to see where and how to rebuild? Which categories of the kinds of people who can wound us, described in Lesson 2, most fit your situation and past experiences? Briefly explain them in your guide. Next, which area of need described in the lesson do you feel the most lacking in because of your past circumstances? What have you done to try to meet that need as you have grown? How has that area of need and your reaction affected your life? Next, consider what kinds of decisions or personality responses described in Lesson 2 that you think you've made in response to the childhood events and needs that you didn't get met. Spend some time reflecting and journaling on these and asking God to show you helpful and unhelpful results of your responses and explain them in your packet. When you have completed these reflections, continue your work by also completing these additional activities to bring greater clarity about what happened in your life and how you got where you are. These activities are important tools in helping you to pick up the pieces of the broken walls in your life and examine them in the light of the truth, both the good and the bad. Only by examining the pieces can we know what is needed to rebuild and what to throw away. This process also allows us to appropriately weep over the ruins as God calls us to do. But don't worry, the lessons ahead will teach you how to lay things to rest and provide tools for rebuilding the broken parts. First, use the ACEs quiz link found here and in your packet and provided to complete the adverse childhood events checklist that we reviewed in the lessons. Then explain your score, how it made you feel to see your score, and describe the impact you think these past events or circumstances have had on your life, health, and emotions so far. Next, to gain a more in-depth understanding of the emotional wounds from your past and their context, use the additional checklist of common ways we can be hurt by others provided at the end of the Reflection and Activities Guide to think about your experiences growing up and to more specifically identify hurts that you may have experienced. Remember, you are looking back to gain understanding for the purpose of knowing where you have come from so you can heal and make healthier choices moving ahead. You are simply looking for the truth. Check off the kinds of hurts that were common or significant for you in your home or growing up experience, and share a little bit about your thoughts and reactions to completing the checklist. Now that you've reflected more on the environment you grew up in, explain how effective your parents or caregivers were in understanding and meeting your emotional needs. Describe your thoughts in detail based on the information you learned from the lesson. Also, explain how you felt about the messages or mirror reflections you were given as a child as we discussed in the lesson. What was reflected to you about yourself, life, God, relationships. How do you feel about these messages now? Also, don't provide details at this time, but what specific memories, events, or circumstances stand out for you the most as you reflect on your childhood and some of the tools that we've been providing in this lesson? Identify 2 or 3 of the most significant if you can, and write them down. Finally, to get the bigger picture of your journey and condition of your walls, make a timeline of your life from birth to the present. Be as creative as you would like, but a simple sample is provided in your Reflection and Healing Activities Guide. On the timeline, write down a brief description of events that you thought were significant to your life, positive and negative, and to who you have become that happened over the years. For example, you might write down briefly things like first felt depressed, was kicked off the football team, police came to the house, was molested for the first time, mom died, dad got divorced, parents got divorced, dad relapsed, was bullied at school, or any other events that stood out for you emotionally. As you complete the exercise, ask God to help you remember important details of truth that you need for you to heal. A sample timeline format, again, is provided in your guide. When you've completed your reflections and healing activities for Section 4, post them for me in the private Facebook community so I can share thoughts and responses and continue to pray for you. Please complete these before moving on to the next section. In Section 5, you will learn how to clear up the confusion of the past as you prepare for the emotional healing exercises ahead. May God give you insight and comfort as you explore the pain of your past. I will see you online in the next coaching group and in the next lesson.